Son, put your little hand in mine. There ain't no hell around and you can climb. Babe, I got you, babe. I got you, babe. I got you, babe. Okay, cameras, rise and shine. Don't forget your reach because it's cold out there today.
It's cold out there every day. Was my reach?
No, hardly. Because back to hazardous travel today. What was that blizzard thing?
That blizzard thing. Actually, we got a news report here that says there's a big blizzard thing coming.
I forgot it.
Dang it, this completely defeats the point of doing
at 1.5 speed. Because I feel like there's a line you forget to say and it throws it off. A big blizzard things. Yes, they do. And you know what makes today especially interesting?
Especially cold.
Yes, especially cold. Is the question on everybody's lips.
Their chap lips.
Yes, the chap's lips. Will Phil come out and see a shadow?
Punxsutawney Phil.
That's right. Which checkers? It's
Groundhog Day.
Wee. Yeah, that really just defeat the point of.
Yeah, it took the same amount of time because you fucked up.
I gotta reread the line, okay? So everybody, I'm Randy.
Bobby.
His Bobby. And today is...
June 6th, 2016. I mean, June 16th, sorry, 2016.
Currently 7:17 p.m.
Trump's still in office.
We didn't say that last week, so we broke the streak.
Now I'll update you on this. From last week and this week, Trump's still in office.
So this is another exciting edition of...
Groundcast Day, Groundhog Day podcast.
Yeah, a Groundhog Day podcast.
In case you're searching for this on YouTube.
If they're listening to this, they've already found it, so they wouldn't need to know the search phrase to find it.
But tell your friends.
It's a loop. It's a loop.
Tell your friends.
Veering to the right.
Mm-hmm.
So how was your viewing?
This 28th watch.
This 28th watch.
I watched it earlier today.
And he loved it. It's his favorite movie of all time.
It was okay.
Actually,
I was trying to make it interesting this time. I made some notes. I tried to do different... I watched the whole thing, and then I started jumping around, tried to do different viewings of it, like the Larry edit.
So describe to them what the Larry edit would be, Bobby.
The Larry edit would be just the Larry parts of the movie, and just what he experienced.
From Larry's point of view.
Yeah, and he does not get a ton of...
Larry, the story of the third wheel, where he's constantly being cut off.
He does not get a ton of footage in this movie, as we established before. He is a comic relief character. He kind of dislikes Phil, laughs at his death, or makes a joke about his death, and in one of the universes, and fails at getting a relationship with Nancy, or at least a lay with Nancy.
Yes. And then I had to show Bobby the cut that we had come up with several weeks ago.
We just saw on the failed video site Vimeo the Rita edit, which we already talked about before.
Yeah, and it's exactly what we thought the edit would be. And we'll come back to that, talking about that in a second, because...
Which is just a jump from the first day to the final day of Phil's final perfect day.
The movie would be 16 minutes long.
And of course, Rita somehow falls in love with Phil, despite the fact that she knew him for like less than 24 hours.
So yeah, before we jump to that... Yeah. Before we have to finish our regularly scheduled segments.
Okay.
So we talked about how your viewing was.
How was your viewing?
My viewing was, not great. No. It was different for about half of it, because I was watching it with somebody else who got fed up and walked away. Ooh. And then I said...
Randy brought a third person to this viewing?
Yeah, I had family visiting, and it's like, okay, and they're sitting on the couch, and it's like, well, I gotta watch this thing. I've never seen the movie before, so she watched it. And then I'm sitting there going, okay, and she's like, I'm bored, and walks away.
Wow, that's a typical reaction to Groundhog Day.
Yeah, and then I tried to watch the rest of it alone because it's a different experience when watching it with somebody else, and then I got fed up and went to 1.5 speed. So my viewing wasn't that great of it yesterday because I need change. I need
this. Keeping in mind, this was a human being who was watching it for the first time and got fed up with it.
My niece has never seen this movie. She's also a millennial. Anyways.
Yeah, all these young people, they don't
Sorry,
get
a young millennial.
They don't get it. They were born in this world of fast-paced internet videos. They don't understand a full-length film.
Because technically, me and you, in the modern delineation of millennials, we would be considered old millennials.
As you know, we're over the age of 30, so we're very old.
We're old millennials. We're not on the outer edge, but we're close to it.
Back's starting to give out.
Yeah. So now back to your question about the Rita cut. Okay. So when does, if she only has known him for 24 hours, from her point of view, when does she fall in love with Phil?
And we discussed this extensively when we first brought it up, how it makes no sense. And Randy was, of course, being Mr. fucking apologist.
I was being a hopeless romantic.
Mr. Apologist. Well, you see, she sees it. He's just this intriguing guy. He's got so many skills. Everybody in town loves him.
She finds him intriguing. He's an interesting man.
How does he know how to play the piano? Why does everybody in town talk about Phil Connors? And I'm like, that makes her as dumb as Nancy.
And he plays hard to get that day because he doesn't try to pursue her on that day.
He actually tells her, "I gotta go run some errands."
Yeah, it's like, what errands? Where are you going?
After
it's like
doing
we gotta leave, right?
Morning.
Yeah, we know that she likes poetry. We know that she studied poetry in school. And then Phil comes out and drops that truth bomb about Groundhog Day. When Chekhov wrote The Long Winter.
Is that really a truth bomb or is it just a bullshit bomb?
It's the bullshit bomb.
Yeah. There's no truth here. It's a fake holiday made up of some nuts who are just having a fucking laugh.
Hot take. The Pennsylvania polka being heard every day is a worse listen than Sonny and Cher's I Got You, Babe.
That's not a hot take. That's an accurate take. Okay.
So that means from now on we have to start singing the Pennsylvania polka at the beginning. Oh, I'm kidding.
And at the end of every episode we have to sing.
Well, anyways, so
what the hell?
Anything else? You had some other interesting things. It's like if I'll give you your.
Yeah, I also said, could Phil have gotten Larry laid if he had told him the formula to getting into Nancy's pants? Nancy's pantsies.
Probably, but that would have required...
Nancy Taylor.
Exactly.
I was sat behind you in Mrs. Walsh's English class in Lincoln.
If he really wanted to, he could coach her how to do it, but he would have to be coach him to do it. But he would have to loop a couple of times just to get the formula down. Like working with Larry. Okay, Larry. It's like no, you really want it? Okay, say this to her. Play dumb. Make like you've known her. You used to know her, like when you were younger. She's dumb as a rock.
Mm-hmm. Or a brick, some sort of a inanimate object.
And with enough attrition, he could get Nancy to sleep with Larry.
Yeah, just be like, Larry, don't say do you want to see the back of a van. Say, hey, did you know I'm a cameraman? Do you want to see how a big time cameraman works? Like, say it that way. Yeah, he could have worked on his speech craft a little bit, his persuade.
Because as we know, Larry lives in the moment. He doesn't care what people think of him. He is what Phil wanted to be from the beginning, except a piece of human garbage.
What, is Larry a bad guy?
No, he's just kind of scummy and seedy.
Oh, yeah.
Want to see the back of my van?
Mm-hmm. I thought he was just awkward. Like, he doesn't know how to...
No,
articulate.
There's a patina of slime coming off of him. Like, you can see it. It's like, it's...
He did watch the Swallows return to Capistrano 6 years in a row.
Yeah, and I don't want to know what that's a euphemism for. It's like
He was in California.
Yikes. So the other thing you brought up was, hey, did you see the groundhog?
Yeah, that was another line that I just realized. I made a lot of first time realizations now after more than 28 viewings. Yeah, when Phil says, "Hey, did you see the groundhog?" Was that just him quoting Hallway Ghost?
No, that was him making the scene you're referring to is him saying that to Nancy specifically at the diner.
Yeah. And
the answer I'm going to give you is a hard no. And the reasoning being, you're making small talk on Groundhog Day.
But who else?
When everybody else has been going to see the groundhog.
But who else in this movie says, "Hey, you going to see the groundhog?" or "Hey, did you see the groundhog?"
Yeah, but he's making small talk. It's like,
hey, I know in the original scripts maybe, but in
no, he's just literally just he's looking at it making small talk. It's like, so would you have just walked over and said hi? And that's it? Mm-hmm. And not done anything? It's like, no, you want to ingratiate yourself to her. You want to act like starting to know Nancy. So that as his
like
fishing
the
for information.
master of small talk, Hallway Ghost.
No, Hallway Ghost goes, are you here to see the groundhog? He asks him, are you here to see the groundhog? Phil asks Nancy, hey, did you see the groundhog?
Yeah.
Because he's stealing, he is stealing the persona of the Hallway Ghost by doing so.
He's
being that gregarious, like hey, this is the small talk. Hey, you here to see that groundhog? Mm-hmm. Like he wants to have that talk. He wants to have like, hey, what do you think of the weather?
Yeah.
Hot enough for you? It's like all those like meaningless platitudes.
Miami Beach?
Yeah, all these meaningless platitudes that you have and when you have conversations with people. just to pass time.
I'm just saying the only other person who mentions it is like, what's his name? Gus. Hey, would you, well, is the Groundhog Phil?
It's, Bobby, it'd be like they had come to town for the St. Patty's Day parade. Oh, did you see the parade? It's an easy in on any conversation introducing yourself to somebody that you've never met before. I know, but in
the context of the movie, they're the only ones who mention it.
But nobody I'm giving you in the context. It doesn't matter,
Nobody
Bobby,
else in this
because
movie
in
says,
reality,
did you see the groundhog?
Because
Nobody.
in reality, you would. That's how you would ingratiate yourself to him. It's like,
does he ingratiate himself to anybody else with that?
We don't know because we don't see any other things. We always see it in media res.
Okay.
It's like we never see the beginnings of it. We never see his fact-finding missions. That's the only time we see that he has a method. He goes in. He's like, "Hey, did you see that groundhog?"
You know who never sees the groundhog?
The groundhog himself.
Pop, the homeless guy.
Yeah, because he's a homeless guy begging for money on a street corner.
Well, don't you think he'd have a better chance if he went to the Groundhog Festival?
Everybody has to pass him by to get there. He's situated himself by the entrance. At the Devil's Crossroads. He's situated by Devil's Crossroads. He's ready to cross. I showed you the map, Bobby. I showed you the map.
Do we have to pull up the map again on this podcast?
No, I refuse to pull up the
on
map
this audio
again.
podcast.
Well, anyways, before I killed Bobby,
I said something else too.
1 second. The big reveal that I basically all capped you at in the Discord chat regarding the movie is you came to realization that when Phil says to Rita, "I love you," he's trying to use the same trick he used on Nancy.
Yeah, I just figured that out now.
To get her in the sack. And he only realized this after 28 watches.
I only did because I was just jumping around on my little time bar, and I just found that because I was comparing and contrasting the dates. And when he says to Nancy, like, "Nancy, I love you. I've always loved you." She's like, "Oh, Phil." And he's like, "Oh, Rita." She's like, "Nancy." He's like, right, Nancy. But it worked on her and he banged her.
Yeah.
And so he was trying to just use the same formula on Rita, which we knew before, but I forgot the fact that
did he use the same formula on French Maid? That's the question.
Probably. No, well, we know he was acting like Clint Eastwood and had a fancy car and money.
Yeah. She could be a gold digger. Did he use the same tactics on Roy, the gay busboy? I told you before he slept with everybody. I think it's Roy. It might be Ray. I told you he slept with everybody in that town. Everybody. He had 10,000 years.
Okay. 10 years in the revised version.
That's what they claim. And the other thing he had brought up is like, what is it? Well, when the bartender sees Larry hitting on Nancy, he just sort of raises his head in contrast to his head shaking when Phil was hitting on Rita.
Yeah, different reaction that time.
Because in the other universes, he doesn't see Larry flirting with Nancy.
So he's like, "Oh, this is new."
It's like, "Oh, okay." Whereas
opposed to usual, like, "Oh, this again."
This again? Why do I have to be stuck on this? Ugh.
Shit, man.
Because remember, Rita would have been going there with Larry, but her whole entire day was shot off because Phil left. So does Phil just leave every day and go, "No, I gotta go do stuff," and then walk away?
That's what we were trying to figure out. Like,
because I'm trying to figure it out. Because if they had left and then coming back, he would never be there for Nancy. Like, it would just be like, okay, whatever. But what happens? Like, there's something that delays them for that event to never happen. That flag to never be hit.
We had talked about that before. How like, why are they still in town? You said they were still there because they were there to film the festival.
Yeah, because she remember Kenny in the false opening. In the non-true opening.
By the way, the Kenny cut of this movie is like a minute long. It's not very good.
That's your favorite cut? Yeah. Quickest watch! I watched it 52 times today!
Sorry, but yeah, the false opening of Kenny.
He says to him that, no, Rita thinks it'd be a good idea to stay and film other festivities. So does Phil tell her we should stay and film other festivities?
Thank God for that extra opening, otherwise we would never know that.
Yeah, we're just kind of reading things into it here. The other thing that I was going to bring up that I forgot, was something interesting I had read. It's just a little tidbit. It's just simply, I saw people comparing, they would refer to people refer to Nancy online as the whore because she's easy for Phil to get into bed, and Rita as the virgin, as if to compare and contrast them because she's so hard to get into bed. So you have, if we were going from a religious standpoint with Phil as the Messiah, as Jesus Christ, you have your Nancy as Mary Magdalene being cast in that role, and you have Rita being cast as the Virgin Mary.
Randy, I got 3 problems with you right now, and I'm going to hit you with some biblical knowledge too. Number 1, Nancy is not that easy. At one point, when he says, "Oh, Rita," she specifically says to you, "What is this? Some kind of one-night stand?" implying that she doesn't like one-night stands.
Yes, but he says, "I love you."
Yeah,
and I want to marry you.
Because so she's into love. She's not that easy. She's just easily trickable.
And
she's not a slut.
He's somebody who's not staying. Like if this was at any other day, he's not staying in town. He's just leaving.
She's
the next day.
No, but he says he wants to marry her. So she thinks like
if this wasn't a loop day, it's like he would just leave her.
But she doesn't know that. She's dumb.
Yeah.
She's not easy. She's dumb.
All you have to say is the magic words, "I love you," and "I want to marry you," and apparently gets her into sack. And then he continues to call her by the wrong name.
Thinks that he's gonna take her back to Pittsburgh with her.
No,
and she's gonna live a nice life.
He just has to leave, and he has to go. No, that crazy lady.
But that's not what she thinks. She thinks she's going to Pittsburgh and leading a nice life as the wife of a newscaster.
Well, whatever. It doesn't matter. The next day she's going to loop anyways in her own little thing and not remember.
I got 2 quick pieces of biblical knowledge for you. Number 1, Mary Magdalene, not a prostitute. That's a misreading of the Bible. There was 2 different women, one of whom was a prostitute, the other whom was Mary Magdalene. Not the same person, misread by some pope in the Middle Ages. The second thing, Virgin Mary, not a virgin, another misreading. Original Hebrew translation was a young maiden, was mistranslated by a guy who doesn't speak Hebrew very well into a virgin. So, yeah, there's that.
So now, that ends our discussion of Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And now we have 5 minutes to talk about Happy Death Day to you.
Yeah.
Well, last week we watched the first movie.
If you listened to last week's episode, you'll have heard an extensive discussion of Happy Death Day Part 1.
Because we want to start watching the derivatives of Harry Potter, of Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day, yeah.
Man, imagine watching the derivatives of Harry Potter. You have to watch
technically,
Aragon.
there is a time loop version of Harry Potter. I think it's a 3rd movie.
Oh man, we're gonna have to watch The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Yeah.
Really? Oh.
But this was we decided to watch the sequel right away to get it out of the way. So this is the sequel to Happy Death Day. I wrote some notes.
So quick, before you go to your crazy ass serial killer notes, what would you give this movie a rating wise? Out of 5 or out of 10, whichever one's good for you.
It's hard to say because, as we've established, this movie is unwatchable if you haven't watched the first one. It makes no sense.
The movie literally picks up from the ending of the first movie, and then doesn't gives you an info explaining what happened in the first movie, and then is barely a slasher film after that point.
No, not. It's like there's like maybe less than 5 minutes worth of slasher in it.
Yeah, there's less than 5 minutes of slasher horror in this film. There's some violent deaths, but they're more funny deaths because the movie becomes meta.
It's much more. Yeah, it's much more time loop oriented this time, and the metaphysics of explaining it. So yeah, in this movie, basically the overview is we figured out the reason for the time loop was some physics students, including the roommate of her boyfriend from the first movie.
Yep.
They've built a device that created the time loop.
Yep, it explains the time loop, explains the power outage.
It doesn't explain exactly why. It actually doesn't really explain the tower outage either. I calculated. But it also doesn't really explain why she was experiencing a time loop.
No, it explains it because the dean's complaint is that they're causing... that every time they try to start the machine, it causes a brownout. So they've been in previous nights or
the original iteration.
Around 9:23 p.m. Yep.
So without her help, maybe, yeah.
Yep. So, do you want me to read this like slam poetry, or do you just want to go point by point?
If you want.
Where do you want me to pick up?
I don't care. That's the first one under the line.
So, we also realized that Bobby kind of sounds like a serial killer when he takes notes.
Stop saying that!
And then I also read it as like emo lyrics, so it's like, like screamo lyrics, so let me start. The roommate is reliving the end of the first movie. This is like Scream 2. Mr. Fad has a mop to defend himself.
Yeah.
Ahem.
I don't have a lot this time, though.
Only Indians, Asians, and Jews can do physics.
Yeah.
3 died 11 times in the first movie.
Yeah.
Scientific explanation. Magic explanation. The time machine. Baby mask, school mascot. Why not call for help? When you lose your save file, time decay via excessive looping. Parallel universes? Mother alive? Yes! Will we find out how she died? Power outage still occurs.
That's right.
Lori is one of the good guys? Different killer. She would rather commit suicide than find out who the killer is. The other tree is in the original dimension. It's snowing. Different dimension.
That's all I wrote. So yeah, so this time basically
Less like slightly less serial killer.
Doesn't
because
work
you don't
as
get
well.
the lines body type meant nothing. The law means nothing.
if you remember from last time, yeah, the serial killer body type was a large burly man. Serial killer turned out to be a skinny woman, and also heroin got away with threatening a cop with a gun and a knife.
Girl wakes up at 9:01 a.m. 20 minutes to get home. Girl has no name, Daryl. Her name is Tree Teresa. Power outage is significant. 9:23 p.m. Her
Right.
mother died on her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Guy Angry calls her. Guy Angry. I'm not reading anymore because it's actually pretty.
Yeah. So this time, basically, so what happens is she does get punted into like a parallel universe
Yeah, this is the cool part. Is that
after the intro, which was like mainly focused on the roommate for a while.
we accidentally stumbled into their plot for this movie while watching Groundhog Day because we started coming up with the exact same idea for plots about different universe.
And then so this one's in a parallel universe, and now she ended up in the one where her mother is still alive, and
But her boyfriend's with her worst frenemy.
the sorority girl, and yeah, she has to like try to figure out how the thing works. She basically starts save scumming to like figure out how their machine works so she can get the formula right, and she helps them like do it over and over. But we realize she keeps killing herself right away after the end instead of trying to figure out who the serial killer is this time.
Yeah, that's the line I said there of she would rather commit suicide than find out who the killer is.
Yeah, what a waste of a day, Tree. Come on.
And then the dropped thing is that the big reveal at the beginning of the movie starts with Ryan Fan, the roommate from the first movie, being our point of view character until he gets killed, and then relives the day again where he finds out the killer is himself and that there's multiple dimensions and that as long as two of them exist in the same dimension, things are going to go awry, and then they drop that plot point completely.
Yeah, that makes no sense. Like, there was no point in time where he ever goes back in time and does that. No.
Yeah, that's been overwritten. It's gone. And that never happens to Tree, so why introduce that? I think that was going to be the thread of the third movie that's probably not happening
Probably
now.
not going to be made because this movie did quite poorly at the box office.
No, not quite poorly. It didn't do as well as the first one.
Not as well.
Even though I ultimately think that this is a better movie than the first one.
It's a better movie, but you've already seen the first one.
Yeah.
If you hadn't seen the first one, this is like a jumble fuck of nonsense.
Yeah. Now imagine watching this movie 52 times.
Yeah, like, and you hadn't seen the first. And then at the end, it turns out, spoiler alert too, that the killer this time is not the nurse, but the doctor who she was sleeping with.
Laurie is the good guy.
And his wife.
Yeah.
And the original serial killer. And Mr. Strangly Hair, who, by the way, had a cameo in this movie of like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Before he gets shot.
Yeah, he's Mr. MacGuffin. He's supposed to be like, here's the killer. No, he's one of the killers. Oh, but wait, this is Happy Death Day to you, so now we have more killers.
And then, what the hell? Then at the end of the story, the plot completely breaks down, and like they have to try to stop the dean from like stopping them from.
We keep dropping the thread here. It's like basically she's helping the nerds with their time machine to send her back to her dimension or to close the loop on the dimension.
In this one, she has to decide whether she wants to keep going out with the guy from the first movie or live in the universe where her mom is still alive.
Yeah. And the reason she keeps killing herself is because she's memorizing the failed formulas so that the nerds can solve the problem, so they can close the loop of this whole thing. Meanwhile, the dean is the crusty old dean with the surprisingly hot wife we never meet is trying to shut them down. And in another piece that's not explained, that would be explained in a threequel, is that he shows up in the finale one day earlier than he's supposed to screw them over.
Yep.
For no reason.
And not only that, but then at the end of the movie, they do manage to close the time loop, but somehow the government gets, in this new universe they're in, the government somehow already has a hold of the time machine and somehow knows they exist and asks them to come in and fix it. And or show them the proper formula. And then the gag at the end is like, they're like, who shall we experiment on? It's the bitchy sorority girl.
Yeah, I think they wound up back in the original dimension of the first movie because her barometer was looking over at him and going, because we were only told there was two dimensions.
Yeah, yeah.
The one where the mother existed, was still alive, and the one where the mother's dead,
Yeah.
but she's with the boy.
Yeah.
And the first question she asks when she gets there, she asks Carter, Danielle? And his answer is, who? So we're supposed to assume that we're back in that dimension.
But now they're laying on a floor in the morning instead of his bed.
That's the weird part, is everybody, it's gone back to the beginning of the day. Nobody understands why they're here. Apparently the machine pulled them all in. All the people that were part of it at the time got pulled into it and spit back out when it closed.
Yeah, I think they just kind of like forgot what they were doing at the end of this movie. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, like I said, I still liked it more than the first one, even though
it's very meta.
Even though if they literally...
It's very Homer Simpson does the time machine in the Halloween Simpsons episode.
The first movie's Groundhog Day. This is Groundhog Day meets Back to the Future 2.
This is Groundhog Day, the sequel on the Virtual Boy or whatever the hell it is.
And because it's Back to the Future 2, it ends with having to travel back to the Old West by them having to go become part of DARPA.
That's going to be the third one.
That would have been the third one. And it would have to do with the clones that they brought up and then never utilized.
So that movie's probably never going to be made.
I kind of want it to happen now just so I can see the end of the trilogy.
It's going to be a lot of money. They don't want to spend that for a very little return.
I give
this movie like a 3 on 10, 4 on 10.
Wow, you gave it worse than the first one.
No, the first one I gave 5, didn't I?
Yeah.
5 on 10, yeah.
No, because I had converted it, and you wound up with like
3 on 5.
You wound up with 3 on 5.
I'm gonna give it 2 on 5 then.
Yeah, so you think this movie's worse than the first movie? When you seem to have enjoyed this movie more than the first?
I was confused by this movie more, and the ending made no sense.
Admittedly, you're a little drunk.
Yeah. It is a Sunday, so.
I'm just saying, you might not have been. It's like I found that pretty.
I was just as drunk when I watched the first movie, and at least the ending. I was like, "Oh, fuck that twist!" This time I was like, the ending. I was like, "What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah, no, the ending was kind of weak. It's like I was going to say, I'm gonna give it like a 4, but it's like out of 5. It's like no, it's like yeah, the ending is kind of like it's a 3. Yeah, it's a 3, but it's better than the first movie. I do say that. But not
without having seen the first movie.
Because Tree is a more likable character.
She is more likable. I hated her in that first movie for the beginning. Like
we were supposed to.
3/4. Yeah, I guess I'll upgrade it to another 3 then, but only if you've seen the first one. If you haven't seen the first one, then it makes no sense. So it's like a 2 or a 1.
I would love to get somebody else to watch this that hasn't seen the first movie.
We should have watched this out of order.
Oh man.
God! I wish we'd have all lived in the mountains and watched this out of order.
So you're saying we need to watch Russian Doll from the last episode first and work backwards?
Yes.
I don't wanna.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't want. I can't do the Jon Snow. I don't wanna.
I don't want it. I don't want it.
I done. It's D-U-N. I don't wanna.
I don't want it.
Okay, I guess that ends our discussion on Happy Death Day to you.
Yeah, so that's that. So next week we're gonna be doing some other movie.
Yeah, some other movie or TV series to continue on with this derivative stuff.
Paired with Groundhog Day, of course.
Paired with Groundhog Day,
like a fine wine and a meal, like a nice pairing.
And then there's a little game that we're coming up with that involved dice while watching this movie. But I think we're gonna save that for like the final home stretch.
That'll be like December of 2019.
I'm thinking within like the last 20 episodes, not 20 episodes, the last 10 episodes, last 15 episodes or something like that.
I thought it was after.
No, not the RPG. I'm talking about
that thing. Yeah. We have a plan where we're going to watch the whole movie, but on his Blu-ray. But we're gonna like do a little random dice roll thing where we roll some dice or something like that, or pick a number out of a hat, and then see which scene we watch. And we have to keep doing that, putting the numbers back in each time. We have to keep doing that until we've seen each scene at least once.
The problem with that...
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're saying put the number back now? Okay, that might work.
Yeah.
But,
no matter how many times... If we get, like, scene 4, like, 8 times, we gotta watch it 8 times.
Yeah, no, like, my resolution for that would have been, like, okay, we take a 20-sided die, we roll. If we get 17 and higher, you add 7 plus 1. 1 plus 7 equal 8. You get, like, 1 plus 8 equal 9. Just as
we just put them in a hat.
You get double chances on it.
You just put them in a hat. You gotta figure out how many scenes this movie has.
16. We figured it out last week.
So just take numbers 1 through 16 on a piece of paper and put them in a hat.
Well, with that, people, don't steal our idea.
Steal our idea. I don't care.
Yeah, nobody listens to us anyways.
Yeah.
Steal it all you want.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.